Coming up on the Hong Kong Racing Show, Alex Evers and Tim Carroll have the latest from Sha Tin as we saddle up for Champions Day. Plus, special guest Andie Biancone joins with her selections for the three Group 1s.
The racing in Hong Kong this weekend is crazy good.
Welcome along to a special edition of the Hong Kong Racing Show. Special not just because we have three unbelievable Group 1 races to look at this weekend at Sha Tin, but also because we have a special guest subbing in for Alex Evers as co-host. The one and only Andie Biancone joins us. Andie, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Andrew. I am so excited. The racing this weekend is unbelievable. I know things are heating up here in Louisville with the Derby, but seriously, the racing in Hong Kong this weekend is crazy good.
You are so right. And speaking of the Kentucky Derby, I might actually ask you a little later in the show if you've got any early thoughts on that race. But firstly, all attention has to be this weekend at Sha Tin Champions Day. Those three Group 1 races. The fields are absolutely stacked. A couple of your favourite horses, I guess, anywhere in the world are racing this weekend too, of course. I speak of Ka Ying Rising and Romantic Warrior. You got to see him in the flesh last December when you were hanging out at Sha Tin. Andie, how privileged are we to have these two horses, sort of once in a generation type horses, racing at the same time?
Oh my gosh. I just would like to I wish we could preserve them forever because how do you even beat them? You know what I mean? Like Ka Ying Rising looking for his 19th win in a row. In a
Mm.
row. Like
Mm-hmm.
just demolishing and I mean, it's amazing. He's just incredible. He is a beast. I've spoken to David Hayes about him multiple times. I text him on
Yeah,
WhatsApp. I'm like, "Congrats on Ka Ying again," and he's always just like, "This horse is a freak of nature. Like,
they
never trained anything like him." So,
yeah.
so cool. And obviously, Romantic Warrior coming back from his injury just in a big way, undefeated this season, and that is another testament to that horse's uh ability because some horses, go through adversity and, they kind of come back and they're a bit timid to go out again. Romantic Warrior is like, put me in, coach, and has just been undefeated since his break.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. He's facing some stiff competition this weekend, though, so it's going to be interesting. We'll look at that race shortly, but let's dive in and go through the first of the three Group 1 races. We'll start with probably the easiest of the three in terms of our top selection, Andie. I'm talking about the Chairman's Sprint Prize, contested over the 1,200 metres, about 6 furlongs, where Ka Ying Rising, and he's actually going to be looking for his record 20th straight win. He's already done the 19 straight. And he's now closing in, I guess, on Black Caviar's record of 27 straight wins. He might even get to Winx's 33 straight wins. Who knows? But he is a once-in-a-generation sprinter. It's hard to see any scenario that he gets beaten here, given that he just continues to improve as well. A lot of the usual suspects, as we have a look at the field of the local brigade, will be lining up most likely for minor placings, including Helios Express, who has been the bridesmaid to Ka Ying Rising on what feels like 10 or more times now. Two internationals are going to try their luck against the champ. Firstly, Comanche Brave, who we last saw in the 1351 turf sprint behind America's Reef Runner, who had Irad Ortiz up for David Fawkes last out. And Comanche Brave was third that day, generally settles mid-pack and makes a run, definitely a place hope. The other international, Satono Rev. I think if Zach Purton was afraid of one horse, and I don't think he is afraid of any horses, but if he was to be afraid of one horse, it would probably be Satono Rev, even though he's beaten him 3 times. Japan's best sprinter at the moment, coming off a solid Group 1 win in Japan, but beaten 8 lengths by Ka Ying Rising last December on International Day and 2 lengths in this race last year. Andie, is it another slam dunk for Ka Ying Rising here?
It's a slam dunk, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna out myself here. I'm just very bad at counting. I'm going through the PPs like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But yeah, 20th win in a row. there's no beating him. I mean, love the call last time out. The shimmies the reins, like shimmies the reins. You
Yeah.
know, Ka Ying Rising is just that good. So he's my top pick here. But I think in terms of horses running for the minor placings, I was a little impressed with Fast Network two back and
Mm,
the Essex handicap. I thought, he carried 135 that day. He made a really nice rally. He got even stuck in a little bit of traffic and prevailed. And I like the cut back in distance. I know they stepped him up in the Chairman Trophy. That was 1,600 meters. But now getting back to his preferred distance, I certainly think he's the next most logical contender who's kind of been in a good form.
Fast Network in for second. What about third? Who do you have in for third?
Comanche Brave. Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
I thought the
Yeah.
third behind Reef Runner and Saudi was quite credible. He came from way
Yeah.
off the pace. And Reef Runner highly regarded in America, so, maybe a little bit of American form bias there, but I
Mhm.
like the closing kick. Um, like I said, I don't think he's quite as good as even Fast Network, but for third, I think he could certainly be in the picture.
Yeah, great stuff. So Ka Ying on top, Fast Network in for second, and then Comanche Brave. Of course, I'm
Yes.
aligned with Andy with the winner. I've got Ka Ying Rising on top too. Helios Express and Satono Rev, I think, will fill the minors. In my trifecta, it's a toss up between those two and which order. But I've given the nod to Helios. He's just so consistent, and in another era would probably have won multiple Group Ones by this point of his career. Satono Rev, I'll put in third for my trifecta. Andy, Ka Ying Rising, just before we move on to the next race, I was looking at some stats. He's lowered his own 1,200 meter track record 3 times in the last 6 months. He also broke the 1,400 meter track record, and he also now has 6 of the top 10 fastest times over the 1,200 meters at Sha Tin. Unbelievable.
He's amazing, and he's so kind. We got to go in his stall and just hang out with him, Keith and I, my fiance, back in December, and
Yeah.
he was just as kind as could be. Put his head in your lap, like,
Wow.
but all business on the track.
Mm.
David told us, in the warm up and everything, the jogging track, he's totally relaxed, totally good. As soon as he gets on the gallop track, like that's the only place where he's antsy when he's in the tunnel. He
Yeah.
just wants to go, and as soon as he goes the correct direction, he's off. Like he's all
Mm.
business and he loves his job, and it's just so refreshing to see a horse like that.
Yeah, what a professional, a real competitor as well. All right. Next up, let's take a look at the Champions Mile and what a field it is for this race of the locals. We've got Hong Kong's Triple Crown or reigning Triple Crown champion Voyage Bubble. We've got last month's Hong Kong Derby winner Invincible Ibis, his stablemate My Wish, who was second in the Derby last year behind Cap Ferrar, who also lines up, Lucky Swainess, Galaxy Patch, Little Paradise. I mean, it's a race. It'd be an amazing race with just the locals, but throw in the Europeans, Docklands and Strauss, and then the Japan horse, Janta, Manta, and boy, do we have an intriguing race. I mentioned the Hong Kong Derby champion, Invincible Ibis. The Jockey Club media team visited trainer Mark Newnham, jockey Hugh Bowman, and owner Daniel Ziegel during the week, and they put together this terrific feature for us to enjoy. So here it is.
I remember doing this when I was a small boy, 6, 7 years old, coming here with my mom and my dad, feeding carrots and grass to horses. It's all owners have this dream that we always want to find a horse to run in that Derby because it's such an exclusive race. It's not every day. It's indescribably delicious. That's all I can really say. For me to have the horse entered into the Derby, I told my wife, I think we've already won. Just the fact that we're down here in this big paddock area and looking at the crowds, and then to actually have won it, it really was a miracle, a miracle.
It's Invincible Ibis. It's Derby redemption for Mark Newnham. Invincible Ibis won it.
Emotionally, past the post is a great feeling. The opposite to what I had last year. It was, as you'd expect with a lot of owners, high on emotions, high on adrenaline. It's hard to settle down for the next race, which we were in. So after the presentation, you've sort of got to get your emotions in check and concentrate on the job at hand.
I must admit I didn't recognise the importance of the race to the Hong Kong people at the time when I won it previously, because I literally hopped on a plane the evening of and went back to Australia. It is obviously the most important race in Hong Kong. To be a 3-time winner is, really special.
The word I use in the press is not repeatable on television. It really was something special. It really is an ecstatic feeling. Honestly, it was a little bit of a blur because I couldn't remember who was there. They all came in, they all wanted to get a photo with this champion. Everybody's asking how the owners feel. I wonder how I can communicate with Invincible Ibis how he feels, how he felt winning that race. What a magnificent animal. He really, truly is.
Going into the Champions Mile, he's got to come up to another level. Those are genuine Group 1 horses that have performed not only in Hong Kong, we've got some visitors as well that have performed on an international stage in Group 1 races. So that's a completely new level compared to racing 4-year-olds in your own jurisdiction and horses that you've raced consistently before. So it's a big deep end for him to jump into now. I think he's got the required talent. It'd probably come down to whether he's got quite the experience to do it.
I looked at the field last night and I feel that we're a David with a bunch of Goliaths coming in. I mean, we're handily rated, but on the bottom third of the horses. Yeah, don't worry. No, it's okay. You can handle it. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid. Name side gang. We'll be there and we'll run to the best of our ability. No, don't eat that. He's a pussycat. He's really a pussycat in the stables, but then he turns into a tiger when he gets on the track. He knows what this is all about. 你唔好唔記得啊，26號啊，北路金剛嗰點有機會啊。
A great feature there on the connections of Invincible Ibis, who, Andy, I think has a sneaky chance in this race. What did you think of his win in the Hong Kong Derby?
It was very impressive. You can't take anything away from him. I took a little bit of a different approach, but obviously any horse who wins the Hong Kong Derby, this is the logical step. So it's going to be a good race.
Yeah, it really is. Another horse that I should probably highlight is Lucky Sweynesse, who used to
Back
be
in form.
I know, used to be Hong Kong's champion sprinter. In fact, actually won the Chairman's Sprint Prize on this day back in 2023. But he's been reinvented as a miler now, and highlights this campaign include that second to Romantic Warrior in the Stewards Cup, and then last out he won the Group 2 Chairman's Trophy over the mile. He's in this race, I think, up to his ears. He's rated 118 now. That's just 3 pounds behind Janta Manta. Andy, how rare is it to find a horse that has been a champion sprinter over the 6 furlongs and now is doing his thing with Grade 1 Group 1 company over the mile?
I just think, a good horse is a good horse.
Yeah.
Lucky Sweynesse is clearly smart enough. He's kind of had his tactics change a little bit. He's a little bit closer to the pace going to mile versus when he's sprinting. But maybe now, as he's getting older, that's an easier trip for him versus having to make up a ton of ground. He can be closer to the pace. I was very impressed with his run last time, and I was in the Chairman's Trophy, and it was very rewarding to see him finally, be back in form.
Yeah.
I'm sure to some degree the connections are kind of trying to avoid Ka Ying Rising, so
Exactly.
makes sense that he's transitioned to the mile. But I love Lucky Sweynesse. I put him second. My top pick is
Ooh.
My Wish.
Oh, My Wish. I like that.
Yes, because he is in unbelievable form right now. I mean, I know he was second to Lucky Sweynesse last time in the Chairman's Trophy, but the
Yeah.
way he did it, Lucky Sweynesse was in a pocket close to the pace.
Yeah.
It was kind of a dream trip, and he didn't really have that much work to do towards the end. He just kind of had to hang on. But My Wish, I mean, he did a ton of work. He was way in the back. He got completely stopped mid-stretch. He still came with a huge rally, and if he had one more jump, he would have passed Lucky Sweynesse. Lucky Sweynesse showed his little sprinter side right past the wire. He was like, all right, I'm done. Like, you could just tell he was like, oh, I'm done, and My Wish galloped out huge. So I do think My Wish needs to get a little bit of a better trip, but I do think being in traffic in the Chairman's Trophy last time out in the stretch definitely cost him a little bit. So I'm going to put My Wish on top. Lucky Sweynesse will be my next selection, and I actually thought Stormy Grove was very interesting. I know he didn't win the Hong Kong Derby, but I liked the way he closed from last, and he showed a really huge turn of foot. I don't have Voyage Bubble anywhere in my picks. I just kind of think that he's on the decline, sadly, but
Yeah.
nothing to. And I tell this to people all the time. horses go in and out of form all the time, and you could be
Mm,
doing nothing different as a trainer. They're just living, breathing creatures. Same thing with Little Paradise. I've always really loved that horse. I've probably picked him a million times, and he's totally off form right now.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I love Voyage Bubble, and it's funny to think that just 4 months ago he was winning the Hong Kong Mile um, in December, but since then, things just haven't really gone his way, and he just seems to be out of form. I think going up against Romantic Warrior a couple of times probably broke his heart a little bit as well. Um,
Yeah, Disease.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the internationals have struggled in this race over the years. I think they've only won twice since 2000, but I think this could be their year. I'm going to put Janta Manta on top. Such a
Oh,
stylish looking
okay.
individual. He rarely puts a foot wrong, and he's very classy. He won the Yasuda Keenan last year off a long layoff, so I think he goes well fresh, which he will be here. He hasn't raced in a while. Soul Rush was third on that day as well, and we saw Soul Rush nearly win the mile last December against Voyage Bubble. Voyage Bubble just came back and beat him on that particular occasion. So there's a bit of a form line for us. I think he can get the job done for Japan. So I'm going to put Janta Manta on top, and then we're kind of similarly aligned with my other selections. Just love that run of My Wish last out. And with the pace here,
So good.
that should be on here. I think he's a huge danger with a good run. And Lucky Swayness, I've got him for third. Shout out to Invincible Ibis, who I definitely think can make his presence felt in this race as well. But this is going to be a slightly different feel to the Derby. A lot more, more mature horses, and he's got his work cut out from a bit. But I think he's continuing to improve, and he'll certainly make his presence felt. All right, Andy, that brings us to the third Group 1 of the day, the QE2 Cup. Can Romantic Warrior make it 4 straight QE2 Cups? He's certainly the horse to beat on his home turf. He's just so damn good, this horse. The world's richest in terms of earnings. But what a field. Wow. As we take a look at it, Masquerade Ball from Japan, the highest rated runner in this race, only just beaten by the world's top rated horse, Kaladigan, in the Shima Classic in Japan last out. Was a winner over this distance too back. Christopher Lemaire rides. Sosi was the winner of the Vase on International Day last December for trainer Andre Fabre. And Maxime Guyon is back to ride. Giovanni, Royal Champion, also in the field. And then of the locals, you've got the former Aussie Numbers, who will likely be the pace setter. Andy, does the second love of your life after Keith, Romantic Warrior, get the job done here?
Absolutely. He's just unbelievable. I could watch his replays all day. Like the way he just accelerates and the way he moves. I've almost never seen a horse move like him. He's just got such a unique movement, but it's so efficient and so beautiful and so effortless for him. And I just love him. He's like, I've always just been in love with his face, like his head. He's just got
Mm,
such an intelligent face. So he really breathes a different air. I'm obviously putting him on top, but my next horse would probably be Masquerade Ball. So impressive in the Japan Cup. Huge turn of foot. Like it was a very oddly run race, obviously, with Admire Terra getting loose. And then Cian Hades was like a loose leader by a lot. And the field was kind of, 18 horse field that was just kind of like strung out. And Masquerade Ball was not part of any early contention. He was way out of it. Came with a huge run, and then Admire Terra, obviously the loose gray horse that went viral. Like, oh, horses know what they're doing and love running. Yeah, loose horse to his inside, the winner on the outside, and he just got beat, and he was so tenacious. So there is something very special about that horse. No question, very talented. Like I said, I'm loyal. I'm sticking with Romantic Warrior on top, but Masquerade Ball would be my second choice, and my third choice would probably be Royal Champion. I liked his effort in the Neom Turf Cup in Saudi. I think, for me, he had a little bit of a dream trip in comparison to Masquerade Ball, and that's kind of how I really separated the two. But I like that Oisin Murphy's coming to ride him. Oisin Murphy, probably one of my favorite riders. I think he really does move horses up. He's just a super good horseman, very strong as well. So I like that he's coming with Royal Champion. But with that being said, he's going to be my third pick.
Great, I love it, and I hate picking against Romantic Warrior.
You're
There's,
doing it. I see. I'm not
there's
brave. I'm loyal. I'm picking him until, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think every time I pick against him, he's won. And there's some serious challenges here, and for all the reasons you outlined about Masquerade Ball, I'm just so excited to see these two clash. And for the sake of being a little different, I'm going to put Masquerade Ball on top of Romantic Warrior, and I've got Sosi in for third, who obviously won the Vars last December as well, who's going to be flying home late. I think it's going to be a great race. So we'll see what happens. We'll be able to talk about it next week. But that's our thoughts on the 3 Group 1s. We'll be back to wrap things up very shortly, so stick around. I might even ask Andie if she's got any early Kentucky Derby thoughts, like I mentioned before. But before we do that, Alex Evers and Tim Carroll are standing by at Sha Tin with all the latest news and to share their thoughts on the 3 Group 1s. Take it away, Alex.
Thank you, Brownie. Here with Tim Carroll, the legend, Ka Ying Rising's biggest supporter here, talking about the 3 Grade 1 races here for Champions Day. Start with the sprint, Tim. What's your thoughts? Who do you like, and how do you see it?
Well, I reckon it could be the good thing on the card. I reckon there's a horse there by the name of Ka Ying Rising that might be pretty tough to beat. Look, jokes aside, he's not going to be a betting proposition. We all know that. But like a Frankel, like a Secretariat, like a Flightline, like a Black Caviar, like a Winx, it's just a wonderful experience to watch him go around. Barring bad luck, and it would have to be a hell of a lot of bad luck, he's going to come out and win. The interest, though, is going to be in the minors.
I think so too. And I was thinking about this. He's a horse that, like, there's so much excitement about him, but he does it so effortlessly. It doesn't seem to have like the hype of some of these other horses. Like, he's just so workmanlike. He just goes out and does it, but he does it so fast, and he's beating his own records. It's incredible.
Man, he's quick, and then he absorbs pressure, but then he gears up off that pace. And that's why they can't beat him, because the horses that go along with him, they get into so much trouble late in the race because they've done so much early. And those out the back are going to have to run sectionals that are just impossible to win the race. He's bulletproof.
So we're both on Ka Ying Rising to win the race. Who do you like for second and third? Can you find any value there, or is it going to be his old nemesis Helios Express running second, a battle between him and Statono Rev? How do you see it?
Oh, man, I feel sorry for the connections of Helios Express. He's run second to him now, I think, 7 times, 2 times in international Group 1s, and I think in another 3 local Group 1s as well. I mean, you take Ka Ying Rising out of the picture, and we're talking about one of the top few sprinters in the world, yet this horse at the moment hasn't got a Group 1 on his CV because he's in the same era. I'm going to put him in for second, and then I think the obvious one, I know it's really boring, but Statono Rev, he's been placed behind him a couple of times. He did bomb here in December, but he was very good in his trial when he made his return in Japan, and we know he's a world-class sprinter. I think they'd be the obvious 3.
I couldn't agree more. And I think with Helios Express, it seems like if you watch his runs for second place, Ka Ying Rising's gapped him so much that it's not like he's seeing the horse, and he battles and throws down with whoever's around him to get that second place finish. So I'm there with you. Helios Express and Statono Rev, each way, either way, it doesn't make a difference. They're going to be there in a photo finish for
maybe 1, 2, 3 in the TriCast a few times. It's not going to pay a mozza, but yeah, you could at least create a little bit of a profit.
So here, on to the mile. We got some horses that they used to be champion sprinter, Lucky Swain S, My Wish, taking on the likes of Jantar Mantar. I looked into it. I don't know if it's true or not, but he's the only horse, I believe, that has won every Grade 1 mile race in Japan for males. So he won the Asahi Futurity at 2, the NHK Mile at 3 restricted races, Mile Championship, and Yasuda Kinen. Comes here. He kind of melted down in December the last time he was here. Heat's not really his favorite, but he's looked incredible. What's your thoughts on the mile here?
I think it's really interesting, wide open, a real sort of Rubik's Cube, if you like, for punters. The Japanese horse is interesting because, like you say, he was very disappointing here back in December 2024. He came over as a late 3-year-old, and I know he had a tough run that day, but by goodness, his lights went out like someone just hit the switch. He was entitled to do a lot more. But back home, he's had the 8-9 starts. He's won 6 and been placed in the other 3. He's currently the top-rated miler in the world, although I kind of get the feeling that might change a little bit as the European season unfolds. It's a tough one. I don't necessarily want to take him on, but I can't back him either because I just thought he was really disappointing here last time. Having said that, he's a lot older, and I've seen him at the track in the morning, and you would have been here in December 2024. He was a bit of a lad, he was carrying on a bit. He's been a heck of a lot better this time. If he runs to his Japanese form, he's going to be awfully tough to beat, but we've got to be a little bit careful because people are saying, oh, he's the best miler in the world. All right, he's rated 121, high rating. Lucky Sway Ness, the best sprinter in the world before the emergence of Ka Ying Rising. His very first run over a mile when he finished third to Romantic Warrior, he put a 118 on the board. That was his first run over a mile, and he's playing at home. So for me, this race, it should be 4-1, 9-2 the field. It's a tough one.
Yeah, and as a super fan of Lucky Sway Ness, it's incredible to see what he's done. Come off an injury that most horses don't come back from, changed from being a sprinter now to a miler. He's had success. Last run was incredible. He's looked great to me in the morning. He's the one that I'm going to be on. Yeah, and it's kind of a heart play too, because there's so many talented horses. For me, I'm looking at Lucky Sway Ness over Jantar Mantar. We're recording this before the barrier draw, so I'd like Jantar Mantar to be drawn inward a little bit more than outward. I don't want him to get hung wide like last time, where he was 3 wide, no cover the whole trip. And then in for third, I'm going with My Wish, just sticking with what Hugh Bowman. Hugh Bowman going a good run last time. Those two are kind of 1-2, Lucky Sway Ness and My Wish for the Hong Kong horses. So I'm going to stick with them. What are you thinking here? You got something special for us?
Man, I love Lucky Sway Ness too, and I see where you're coming from. But like you say, we're recording this only just before the barrier draw. The other thing about him, he'll go forward. He won't necessarily lead, but he'll be in that first 3 or 4. And usually speaking, you stay out of trouble there. And this is a big, wide open competitive field, so it wouldn't be a bad spot to be. Having said all of that, I'm going to go completely the other way and go for one that's going to be a stretch runner. Galaxy Patch. Now, anybody who follows Hong Kong racing will know that this horse probably has had more bad luck than any horse in Hong Kong, certainly at the top level. And the reason being is his run style, it's to be held up and finish late. However, when it all comes together for him, when he gets a pace to aim at, and I think he'll get that here, he's an exceptionally good horse. If you go back to November last year, he won the trial for the mile on International Day, and it all fell into place for him. I think we're paced to aim at, and I'm being a bit price sensitive as well, by the way. It's just so wide open. Last time I had a look, he's probably going to be double figures. I'd like to think so. I just think he could be a strong each-way play.
I think so too, and I love him. And the thing is about Galaxy Patches, when you're making that bet, you know what you're getting when you bet him. You know all the risk involved. You know if he gets bumped, looked at funny, the wind blows funny, he might not run. But conversely, if things go his way, he's going to be right there, and he's got all the talent in the world. Like he's
a good horse. He's a seriously good horse when he gets the chance to shine. So I'm going to put him in on top. My Wish I thought was very good. I thought he was his best run, not of the season, but his best run of the year last time when he finished second in the trial. So I'll put him in for second. For third, I'm going to go for one at a massive price here. Now, look, traditionally the 4-year-olds don't have a good record in this race. I think the last one, the win was, well, you'd have to go back to 2011 extension. And my theory on that is, well, firstly, the milers over here in that time, we've had the Able Friends, we've had the Beauty Generation, the Golden 60s, for goodness sake. So they're tough older horses. But also the 4-year-olds, generally speaking, the good 4-year-olds are dropping in out of the Classic Series, out of the Derby. They're cutting back in trip, and that's a tough ask. But there's a horse there called Little Paradise, and he's going to be a really big price. Zach Purton takes over from Vincent Ho, and I say this politely, I think that's a good move. I think Zach suits the horse. If you cast your mind back, now his last 2 runs were in the Derby and the race before that over the 9 furlongs. He didn't have a lot of luck in either. It didn't pan out. To be fair to Connections, he probably didn't see out the trip as well in the Derby. But if you go back to the first leg of the Classic Series for the 4-year-olds, and you would have watched it, he's won it's a race called the Classic Mile. Now, he got into trouble at the top of this straight. He couldn't get out until about the 200-metre mark. And I remember watching thinking, well, he's absolutely stuffed. Man, he got out and a set of wheels on him. He won by 2 lengths running away from the best 4-year-olds in Hong Kong. Now, all right, he's going to be a bit of a swing here because he is taking on the older horses. And generally speaking, like I said, my rule of thumb is I don't back 4-year-olds in this race. But I just think given that he's going to be not just double figures, he should be big double, although the Zach Purton factor might have a little bit of impact. But he's still going to be a big price. So I'm going to chuck him in for third. I know in America you love your exotics. If you're playing a trifecta or something along those lines, the first 3, put him on the bottom line at least.
Yeah, and he's probably going to be the longest priced horse that Zach's been on in one of these races in a long time. So if you're a Purton guy, which a lot of us are here, one of our long-running guests, he's probably a horse for a couple people. And he looked incredible in track work this morning. And from his barrier trial a couple weeks ago, or last week, it looked like he might go forward. He's not. I can't imagine him sitting way out the back like him in the last couple of runs. So I would think he would be more positively placed this time.
Yeah, especially over the mile. A little bit will sort of depend on what he draws as well, I suppose. That might force a hand. But if he draws low, I'd like to think he'd be in the first half dozen.
Absolutely. On to the Cup, the QE2. It's a lovely race this year. It's turned. It was looking like it was going to be kind of bleak, and it's turned into something kind of special here with Masquerade Ball, Royal Champion, some other horses coming over. It's hard to pick against Romantic Warrior here, but this is probably the toughest test he's faced in Hong Kong during his career as far as these overseas races are concerned. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, look, I couldn't agree more. I think away from home he's taken on some big tasks, but at home I think you'd have to go back to Golden 60 when he faced off against Golden 60. It's certainly his toughest task here in Hong Kong since then. If I'm being honest from a betting perspective, I'm going to be price sensitive for this one. A couple of reasons. I find it a really difficult race to sort of break down from, not that difficult to break down, but to split the top 2 or 3. I call them the big 3, although having watched Royal Champion work this morning, we'll talk about that in a moment. That was interesting. But my feeling is what you tend to find for these big races, you know that the big hitters, the syndicates will be in the pool, okay, and they influence the pool a lot. But at these big meetings, you tend to find that the small players do as well, simply because so many of them are playing into these sort of races. Now, the syndicates, they don't bet with heart at all. It's all head. The smaller players, and I'm guilty of it myself, you bet with a bit of heart.
Too much.
And he's going to attract a lot of support. I think he's a worthy favourite. In fact, I'm sure he's a worthy favourite. He's a 3-time winner at this race. He didn't contest it last year when he was over in the Middle East. But I do think the disparity between the two in the market is likely to be too much. And for that reason alone, I'm going to go with Masquerade Ball in the race. But having said all of that, I think Sosi, the French horse, who was so good here on International Day last December. He won with more authority than the margin would suggest. He got the rider Guion. He pulled him out wide mid-race, and they ran the race slow, and then the taps went on at the halfway mark, and that's when he pulled him out 3-4 deep, cut in the breeze. That's when he made his run. It was an impressive performance. I think for the each-way players, he'd be the one I'd play because with a clear round, everything being fair on the day, I don't see how he doesn't hit the frame. And last time I had a look, he was around about 7-8 to 1. So if you can get that sort of price on race day, I think he'd beat each way play. But look, I'm going to go with Masquerade Ball. He's going to be my on-top selection. I'm going to throw Sosi in for second. I'm going to play the reverse forecast a few times, create a bit of value. Yeah. And, okay, I feel like the guy that's, shooting Bambi, so to speak, but I'm going to put Romantic Warrior in for third.
Somebody's got to do it. And I love Sosi actually in this race. I'm not afraid of the 2,000 meters. He's run well fresh up. He's got a lovely pedigree. He's a gorgeous horse. And since he's been over here, just like last December, he's taken to the track. He's looked great every single morning. Masquerade Ball, to me, the first morning he was here, he was really nervous, sweating, drippy. You could see the water coming off of him. But every morning since, he's improved, been better. His track work was excellent yesterday when he took off the hood and the pacifiers. I think I've never seen a horse trained just casually in a hood and pacifiers and as much tack as him. But he's looked incredibly well. And then Royal Champion, I want to get your thoughts on Royal Champion because I was down on the track today shooting. I couldn't see what transpired, but he was one that I really liked. Interesting pedigree too, by the way. We've kind of talked about that before, but what transpired out there?
Look, originally he probably, I want to say he wasn't on my radar. I just thought the top 3 were the 3 to concentrate on. He has always been a very good horse in Europe. He won the Wolverhampton Stakes at the Royal Ascot meeting for Roger Varian. He wasn't a top horse though. Then he went to Australia. 3 starts didn't really work out. He goes to Carl Burke as an older horse. I think it was at the back end of 2024. And my goodness, he's improved probably half a stone, if not more. He's been exceptional. He's worked this morning, though. I was watching him work, and he's, when I say obviously, I don't know too much about what he does back in England, but by goodness, he was taking a tug. He was like one of those American bull horses that just wanted to get on with, and I thought, wow. And he's a good-looking type as well. And I watched him go past the line. I was saying to the lads I was watching him with, people know my history. I was a bit of a useless jockey back in the day. But, I've done a bit of riding. I thought, gee, I think the rider's going to have a tough time pulling this up. Yeah, and in a way, you'd like to see that. But then all of a sudden, he went further and further and further. He's done a full lap. I wouldn't say flat out, but he's done a full lap going at a decent clip, and I'm sure that wasn't the intention. Having said that, I don't think it was too bad. I don't think it's going to take anything out of him or anything like that. But if I'm being honest, I don't know whether I was really impressed or going, oh my goodness, the connections are going to be going, oh man, that's not what we want. But boy, oh boy, he looked good. Maybe a little bit too good.
Yeah, so for my 3, I'm going with Romantic Warrior on top of Sosi, and then I was looking for Price in third, and that's how I was going with him. But if Masquerade Ball is going to drift up and be at that sort of number you're kind of mentioning, it's a toss-up between those 2 for me for the third spot. And I wouldn't be surprised if either of them run well. But again, Romantic Warrior, probably his toughest test since Golden 60 here. And at least to me, I think the key, if you're going to beat Romantic Warrior, is you got to stay close to him and not let him gap you at the 300 to 400, where he gets that lead and then he just kicks on. And he's so tough. If you can stay close to him and outfinish him, which is really tough for some horses to do, but that's the chink in the armor, if there is any for him.
I think with Masquerade Ball as well. I know he hasn't been seen since the Japan Cup, but he had a similar break when he won a big Grade 1 over there prior to that. So I wouldn't be worried about that. We know the Japanese horses quite often, they turn up after having had a break. But Calandigan, he's a pretty good horse. Like, he's the best middle distance horse in the world. He's laid down with him and been beaten the lip in the Japan Cup. I mean, he's rated 128. If you look at this race, I was saying to a couple of the lads again downstairs, from Europe, this will probably match up with any 10 furlong Group 1 we see in Europe this year. It's 128 horse. Then you've got Romantic Warrior, World Champion 125, Soci 121. Personally, I think he's a little bit better than that. And then Royal Champion 122. This is stacked. It is such a good race.
Yeah, even with Museum Mile out, it's incredible, and you love to see it. This is the time of year where the horse racing starts getting going. You get the flat season going in the UK, Kentucky Derby time for us in America, and here we go. So we got the picks. Best of luck, everybody, and back to you, Brownie.
All right, Andy, good to get Alex and Tim's thoughts there. It's going to be an awesome weekend at Sha Tin. I will be seeing you in Louisville this weekend as we gear up towards the Kentucky Derby. It's going to be your last Kentucky Derby for FanDuel TV.
Yes, it is. So, definitely bittersweet, more bitter than sweet, I would say. Kind of sad. I do compare this time to like the Titanic shift, like the ship is sinking. We're playing the violins. But no, I'm enjoying every moment of it. Like, I love the people I work with on FanDuel. They're just awesome people. Like, we genuinely are like a little bit of a family. So that's kind of where the bitters comes from. But I'm grateful they gave me my start in broadcasting. I would still be, they just plucked me off the backside one day. So I'm very grateful for that and always will be.
And I think that everybody that has been tuning into FanDuel TV over the years is very grateful that they plucked you off the backside as well, because you have just been fantastic with everything that you've done on air. And it's been awesome watching you, and you're just so engaging, so knowledgeable. I think we've all learned so much from you, and we're going to miss seeing you on the FanDuel TV screens.
Yeah, I'll miss watching FanDuel TV. Like, I have it on in my house all the time, admittedly, but and TVG since I was a little kid. But with that being said, I know this industry will step up to fill the void, and I don't doubt that something will happen in a positive way. So
no, I don't doubt that either. And if anyone's watching, maybe even at the Jockey Club or anywhere else around the world, Andie is.
I speak Cantonese. Okay.
Andie's awesome. Give her a job. Give her a job. I could see you on the Hong Kong simulcast feed.
That'd be fun.
That'd be fantastic. All right.
That'd be awesome.
Let's see if we can get the good juju out there and make something happen. But I'll be seeing you in Louisville in a few days' time. We're still a week out, and the post position draw is still to come. But any early thoughts on who might win this year's run for the Roses, Andie?
I had my Derby pick a couple of weeks ago, and it was from the moment I first sat on Renegade. I'm sorry, I have a cat, and he just jumped in this bag. I'm sorry. There he is.
That's okay.
Disruptive. I got to gallop Renegade before the Arkansas Derby, and I got chills galloping him. And I've only had that happen a couple of times. It happened to me aboard Lenny Lou before her last gallop before Royal Ascot. I was almost in tears, like, that was crazy. And I got those chills galloping Mind Frame before he won to Stephen Foster. So I really got a good feeling from him, and he is like driving a car. I mean, so in tune with what you want as a rider, and I think he really showed that in the Arkansas Derby. I know maybe the speed figure came back a little bit lighter in comparison to some of the other preps, but and I know the question is, who did he beat in Arkansas? But it's the way he did it. I mean, he had a ton of horse even after the wire. He was just playing with them. And I think Irad really put him to a tall task, burying him behind horses. And I don't blame Irad. I do think these riders when it comes down to the fact that you have several options to choose from coming to the Derby, you're going to want to test these horses a little bit to see who's going to have be your best chance. And I think that's what he did with Renegade. He put him behind horses, buried him. I almost said, like, watching the race, I was like, oh my gosh, Irad, why are you getting so cheeky? But the way he drew away and, like I said, had plenty left in the tank. And like I said, even just galloping him, he's like driving a car. Like, you think it, he does it. He's automatic, and he feels just like an incredible mover, and he's got a great mind. Like, nothing bothers him. So I certainly think he has the makings of a Derby horse. With that being said, being at Churchill this morning for the first time, I thought So Happy made a beautiful impression.
Nice.
And how great that would be for Mark Glad and
Oh,
his team.
the amazing
Just
story.
with everything, yes, with Mark's wife passing and everything. So
Yeah.
that would be extra special. But I did like So Happy. He really did catch my eye this morning.
Okay. So Renegade on top, So Happy, potentially underneath, maybe for second or third. Got one more? Who's in your top three?
I thought, he's lightly raced, but I did think Emerging Market looked great galloping this morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's kind of
Yeah. All right.
Mhm.
Well, it's going to be exciting. We've still got a week to go, but Team Renegade
Team
for
Renegade.
Andy
He's
in
so
the Kentucky
awesome.
Derby.
Yeah.
Likely, possibly to go off favourite. We'll see what happens between now and then. Perhaps Commandment, maybe Further Ado,
Yeah.
even Chief Wallaby. There seems to be quite
I
a swell of
I do
support.
like Commandment a lot as well. I
Yeah.
will have to say, I think he's pretty awesome. I don't think he's as automatic as Renegade. I think he takes, he's kind of a bigger, kind of laboring kind of horse. He takes a little while to get going versus Renegade is like a little Vespa, like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
But I respect Commandment a lot as well.
Yep. For Wathanan Racing. So me too. I think Commandment's got a really good shot. Well, Andy, thank you so much for your time. God, we've got 2 awesome weekends of racing to look forward to.
Yes, can't wait.
Kentucky Derby coming up next weekend. But before that, of course, we've got Sha Tin this weekend. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome.
It's always fun. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Enjoy the racing this weekend from Sha Tin. And we will see you next week on the Hong Kong Racing Show.